Hello, I'm Lisa Burkhart Worley of Pearls of Promise Ministries, and welcome to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what subjects will pop up. Are you interested in the way you look? Are you insecure about how you look? I think we all have insecurities and we are our worst critics. But today we're going to talk to someone who decided to do something about it in her late 50s so she would physically look better, and her efforts resulted in a beauty title. But first, let me introduce our Pop Talk team. To my left is Dr. Lynette Sim.
Hello.
And over here on my far right is Rosemary LeGrand.
Hello, everyone.
Well, let me tell you about our guest today. She was the 2019 Miss Texas Senior America winner. Her name is Joyce Brown. We want to thank our Pearls team member, Alma Jimenez Hall, for recommending Joyce because, oh my gosh, we've already been talking to her and we know she is going to be a delightful guest for you. We miss you, Alma, by the way. Joyce is not only a beautiful person, but she is also a very intelligent woman. She grew up in Toledo, Ohio, but ended up in Texas after graduating with an electrical engineering degree from Alabama A&M University. She was recruited for a job in Texas Instruments and now works for Abbott Laboratories. You can see that I can't even pronounce those things because you can tell she's a very bright person. Joyce has been a church volunteer for over 25 years and volunteers for homeless shelters, serving meals and offering words of encouragement to those in need. We're so glad to have Joyce on the show, and I have to ask you first off, Joyce, what made you enter a beauty pageant, and had you been involved in one before?
So let me make a clarification first, because this is not a beauty pageant. The Miss Texas Senior America pageant is really there to inspire and empower women to reach whatever goals we have at this point in our lives. A lot of us have already completed careers, or we're in the process of completing careers. We have grown children, so we're trying to figure out what's next. And so that pageant is so much more than just a beauty pageant, so I just wanted to provide that clarification.
Sure.
Okay. So no, I had never been interested in a beauty pageant. Like a lot of women my age, we of course would sit around and watch pageants when we were young, but it's never anything I thought I could do. Unfortunately, I was a quiet kid, I was a shy kid, and I didn't like getting in front of people, and so that was never on my radar to do anything like that. However, when I turned 60, something clicked inside of me, and I wanted to stretch myself to do something I had never done before. And I started looking around on the internet to see what that could be. And I ran across a pageant for women 60 years and older. So when I saw that, I just knew I had to do it. So I entered the pageant the first time at 60, and I prepared for it, but didn't win, didn't place. But that was okay because I knew I had stretched myself and I had done something that was incredible for me, and I had done my best. So even though I didn't win, I still felt good about what I had accomplished. And then I went back and I decided to make some improvements, make some adjustments to what I had done the first year and enter it again. And then that was my lucky time and I won. So yeah, I had never done a pageant until I was 60.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Absolutely.
You did
That is my motto.
Some people might have given up if they'd lost well, I did it, I'm not going to do it again, but it was great that you did it again.
Yeah, and for me, my philosophy in life is you can't fail. Failure is impossible. You're always learning something. You may not reach the success you were hoping for, but there is some lessons learned. And so that's what happened to me. I learned what I needed to do, and I built upon that, and then I was able to accomplish my goal.
Wow.
So.
And you know, Joyce, in preparation for a pageant, you know, I know that's very intense, and then you really have to look good in your evening gown, and there is a competition. How did you prepare for all of that?
Oh man, there was a lot of preparation that went into getting prepared for a pageant because I had never done one before. And I didn't know who the women were that I was going to be competing against, but I knew I had to be my best. And so what I did was I hired, well, okay, first let me back up. So I didn't have to lose weight because thank goodness I had already accomplished that. At 59, I was overweight. Like most women, I gradually gained weight over the years, and I was about 50 pounds heavier than what I am now. And I was looking at turning 60, and I wasn't happy about that either because I was confused how I got there. So I was at a depressed state in my life. And finally, I decided that I don't have to let 60 define me, that I have the ability to define 60 for myself. And so it was at that point that I decided to get serious about eating right, get serious about working out. And I lost the 50 pounds probably in about 6 months. So I didn't have that to worry about. So even though I didn't have to worry about how I looked in my evening gown, I did have other challenges. So for example, I didn't have a talent. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? What have I gotten myself into? I don't have a talent. And so what I did, though, is I had been working out, and the only thing I could think of for a talent was to do a fitness dance routine. So I hired a choreographer to help me with that, and she's fabulous. She helped me that year, and then she also was my choreographer the second year I was in the pageant. And so I did that, and I got my talent together. But when I didn't win the first year, I realized, like I said earlier, there were still some challenges that I needed to overcome. So the second year, even though I had been in management for 30 years in my job, I was not comfortable with the interview because even though I had interviewed people and I had been interviewed, it was different. I didn't know how to answer the question, why should I win this pageant? I didn't know, and so I knew I needed a pageant coach for that. So I had to hire a pageant coach to help me be able to redirect my efforts and start answering questions for a pageant, which I had never thought of before. And that was wonderful because she had me journal. When she asked me that question the first time, why should you win? I looked at her like a deer in headlights, and I was like, I have no idea why I should win. And so it was at that point that she said, Joyce, you need to journal. You need to journal and figure out who you are, what you've done, and what you've accomplished, and be able to answer these questions because you have to. And so after I journaled and wrote down all of my accomplishments and everything I had done, I realized I was a pretty spectacular person after all. I had done a lot of things that I took for granted, and I think we as women do that all the time. We don't really always acknowledge our accomplishments over the years. And so once I had it on paper and I was able to look at it, I realized I was pretty spectacular. And then I was able to answer all those questions, why I should win, what do I have to bring to the table, all of those pageant questions that I never thought of before, I was able to do it. So yeah, I had the choreographer, I had to hire a pageant coach to get me beyond that. And then also, of course, I hired a makeup artist, somebody to do my hair.
We need that. Do you have a recommendation?
The lady that I used, she was perfect. So yeah, so there was a lot that went into it. And for me, I took it seriously. I mean, I didn't want to just show up into a pageant. I wanted to be serious about what I had to bring, yeah. So there is a lot of preparation that goes into it.
Sounds like it wore me out just listening to it.
I know, because for the talent competition, though, you did this jazz routine. Did you do it on the second one as well?
So the first time I did a fitness dance routine. And then the second year, I decided that I would do a jazz routine, something more in line with the women my age.
And you did it in leotard with tails.
Yes, I did.
I am sure I would not be in a leotard with tails. But anyway, so had you been a dancer, or was this all new to you? Because you did the fitness routine. So did you have to really press into this new talent, or?
Yes, I did, because I had never danced. And once again, when I got into the pageant, I had no talent, and I didn't know what to do. So, and to be perfectly honest, I still say I have no talent. However, I learned a routine. My choreographer, she was able to develop a dance routine for me, and I went to her and she helped me with it. I know that dance really well. So I'm not a dancer, and I still don't profess to be a dancer, but I think any of us can learn to do something. So again, it was a stretch for me to learn to be able to dance, and I did it, and it was good enough for me to win. So, you don't have to be a dancer, you don't have to be a singer. There's so many talents out there. And so we just have to open our minds and realize that we can do something outside of our norm if we allow ourselves to do that.
Think of a verse right now, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Him who gives me strength.
Yes. I know.
Now, I thought I could sing, but one time at one of our conferences, I played one of my original songs and sang, and I thought it just didn't sound the same as it did when I was playing it at home. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we're not meant like, I'm not meant to get up and do a talent like that. No. Now, you talked about having a coach, you know, like a pageant coach, and they recommended that you journal because you didn't know why you were supposed to be doing this. And that's a great word for all of us. We should all be journaling. I think journaling is very healthy and very important. It helps you get things down on paper. It makes you reflect on what's going on in your life. And one of the things they asked you to do was to come up with your philosophy, like a philosophy for your life. And so what philosophy did you come up with?
So, like many women, I mean, I'm just such a typical woman. So, like many women, we have a tendency to look at other people and compare ourselves. And we don't always feel that we measure up or that we're good enough. And so, I live my life that way, a majority of it, and I know a lot of women do too. I'm not as we say we're not a size 0. If I were taller, if I were, you know, more like her, then I'd be happy. And, you know, we do that all the time. So for me, what I learned is that I don't have to be like anybody else. I am okay just the way I am. And so my philosophy of life was to say that, you know, God created us unique and He created us special. And He created us with everything we need for the journey that He has for us. And so then once I realized that I'm perfect just the way I am and I don't have to look at anybody else, then that's my philosophy. We're all perfect just the way we are because God can't make any mistakes. And so because we were made in His image and He created us, we're perfect. I have the right skin color. I'm the right height. I have the right complexion, the right nose and lips and eyes. I have everything I need for this journey that He's put me on. And so I want other women to realize the same thing too, that they don't have to try and be like somebody else to be happy or she's too pretty or anything like that. We are all just perfect the way we are. And that's the way God created us.
Yeah, I do a little talk called Run Your Own Race, becoming the woman that God designed you to be. And I just try to teach people that you run in your own lane.
Yes,
You don't look to the left. One time I did really poorly in an event, a track event, and I wasn't really a good track runner anyway, but I was watching these people, these women just blazed past me, and I'm like, what is going on? So I started running faster, and I was worn out at the end. I ended up second to last, and I realized those girls were plants. They were there to run a faster pace than what we could run, and so I did exactly what they planned us to do because they dropped off.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's what we do in life. You know, we watch people doing different things. They're running a different pace. They're more successful or whatever, and we keep our eyes on them instead of running the race that God has set before us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
We all have our journey, and my journey is different from all of you.
Exactly.
But you know, I have my lane to stay in, and I don't worry about what anybody else is doing anymore. I just stay focused on what God has for me, planned for me.
That's right.
You know, I was wondering, once you won the talent, did it require special appearances like the Miss America or the Miss USA may have to do?
Yeah, so after I won the pageant, the state pageant, there is actually a national pageant up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So I went up there in October and I competed for the national pageant, and it was such a tremendous experience. They actually treated us like queens. I mean, they had a queen's breakfast. They had a banquet for us at night, and I mean, it was just so wonderful. And then I got to meet so many wonderful women, you know, that were representing all the different states as well. So yeah, it was a really, really, really tremendous experience. In addition to that, there are other appearances that I've made, and I've been so blessed and so fortunate that so many opportunities have come my way. For example, even sitting here with all of you all. I mean, I consider this to be an absolute blessing for me. But I won the title in August, and then in March, by the time the pandemic had hit, I had done like 80 plus appearances. So I like to stay busy. I like to, you know, I'm always doing something, looking for other opportunities. I've done everything from parades. I've met politicians. I've MC Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. She had an adult, a senior fair, health fair. And so they asked me to MC that show for her. I've had to speak at women events like Alma's women events. Yeah. So, I mean, I've done so many things, parades. And this whole thing has just been a true blessing, you know, to me from God, you know, that I've been able to represent the state of Texas and stay so busy. And because I do stay so busy, a lot of times I'll be at an event and meet someone, and they'll say, hey, I want you to come to this one. So because I'm out there and I'm making myself visible, I get invited to a lot of other things that, you know, because I'm out there.
I got a quick question for you. Did they give you another year because of COVID? I mean, was there not a 2020 pageant? I'm thinking there might not have been.
So the pageant is supposed to occur in August, but because of COVID, they decided to delay it until May of 2021.
Oh,
so there's not going to be
extra time.
Exactly. There's not going to be a 2020 pageant. However, I don't know what it's going to look like because I mean, right now, you know, people are still limited in terms of doing the big events that I used to do. So for example, like performing in nursing homes. A lot of nursing homes aren't letting us in to perform. A lot of the senior living facilities that we would go to and you know, just make appearances at, they're not having the events that they used to have. So, and in the big health fairs that they used to have, they're not doing a lot of that. But you know what? I know God is going to give me a different direction. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know He's going to give me something to do for the next year.
Well, you have been busy, Joyce, because I met you for the Denton County Counselors fundraisers, and I was speaking there, and I had the opportunity to meet the pageant queen, and I got her picture, and so, but with Pop Talk, though, I guess I'm kind of the baby. I'm still in my 40s, and I'm going to hold on to that for as long as I can. Although I have a goal when I turn 60, but. You know, for someone who is in their 50s or 60s, and maybe they have, you know, kind of let themselves go, or just slowly, like you said, in natural, have gained weight. What do you think that, and they don't think that they can do a beauty pageant? I mean, what do you think? What should you what would you share with them?
Well, in a pageant may not be for everybody, but I mean, we all have those secret desires to do something that we never tell anybody. You know, so whatever it is you have that secret desire to do, I say pursue it. And really, your physical appearance is important, but it's not the most important thing. You know, it's so important that you figure out what it is you want to do, regardless of where you are in life. You know, you could be in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 20s, or 30s. Figure out what your passion is in life and pursue it. So, yeah, I just feel that, you know, you can transform yourself. I feel like I've reinvented myself now several times. I didn't think of it that way at the time when I was doing it, but there's always opportunity to reinvent yourself, and it's never too late.
I was going to say, Lisa, you're starting seminary
for
a doctorate degree.
My doctorate. Yes, I got my seminary degree, but now God has called me to work on a doctorate. I know it's a call of Him because I would have never done it in a million years. Yes. Because I went to school before, and it was hard going to school as an older person. You know, I guess I went in my 40s, and so I'm not going to say how old I am now, but you and I are about the same age.
Right.
So I'm doing this, but out of obedience. And so, yes, I was just thinking about this. It's like, you've got me on, it's not a beauty pageant, but you got me on a different track.
Reinvent and find new things and where you're being led and where you're being called.
And I just think that that's so important because I'm not who I was at 30. I'm not who I was at 40. You know, we change all the time and our interests change. And, you know, especially when you don't have small kids anymore, it's like, okay, don't sit around and just sit on the couch, watch TV all day and gain weight. I mean, that's just the worst thing you can do. Life is all about living and finding out who you are and rediscovering yourself. And when you do that, then you are living your life to the fullest. And I just think that that's what we all need to do.
Amen. And I love that philosophy. And I know that you mentioned that we are all beautiful. You're beautiful in God's sight. And that is so true. And we want to just remind everybody that everyone is beautiful in God's sight because He did create us in His image. And I think of the story of David, King David, and how Samuel was searching for, I was told to go to the home of Jesse to anoint the new king. And so Jesse thought for sure it was one of these other sons who were probably taller and maybe a little more handsome, I don't know. But he paraded all these older boys in front of Samuel, and he said, no, do you have another son? Well, it was David, this little shepherd boy, you know, out in the fields who was probably the youngest, and he brings him in, and that's the guy. And what do they say in that passage about that? Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So I think it's really great that you won this pageant. But how important is it to be not only beautiful on the outside, but beautiful on the inside, Joyce?
So, I mean, to me, it's more important on what you feel on the inside because you can be absolutely gorgeous on the outside, but if you treat people wrong, if you have a cold heart, then, you know, people are going to see that. And that's never who I want to be. And I keep myself humble because I call my experience, this experience for me has been a but God experience. Because I know that in my own flesh, I couldn't have accomplished this on my own. I have to give all credit to him because I know that he gave me the idea, but because I was obedient to what he told me to do, then he made the way and he made my small little talents big. And so when I give him the credit for all of this, and it keeps me humble on the inside.
Wow. Do you know, Joyce, I really like the way that you attribute everything, all your accomplishment to God, you know, because he's the one that knows, he's the one that has the plan, and he's the one that has the purpose for us. And I know that you have a heart for the homeless, and you volunteer, you know, at various homeless shelters where you serve meals and you give words of encouragement, and that's my forte. You know, what drawn you, what actually drawn you to that ministry?
Well, it was really, I was involved in a lot of different ministries at the church that I was in, and so it was really, I just have a heart, I think, to just help people. When I look at people who are challenged for whatever reason, whether they're homeless, whether they're downtrodden, whatever, I just have a heart for them. And I'm beginning to consider myself a humanitarian to a degree because I really, you know, those people really have, I really have a heart for them. And I mean, even like kids, I've gone and had to career day at schools. And I look at kids and you know, a lot of them, they grow up and they don't understand their true power that they have. And so I like to tell them that, you know, what I said earlier is that you are special. You can do anything you want to do, and pour that positivity into them at a young age. Because if we start doing that to our children, then they'll know that they can't escape whatever their environment is. They can be more than whatever the people are around them. And I just think that it's so important that we just pour love and encouragement and hope into people.
Well, as we close, I just wanted to ask you, what would you say to somebody who would think there's no way I should do a pageant, or maybe I should? Mm-hmm. Was it fun? Was it worth it? Would you have done it all over again?
If I had to do it again, I would. And I mean, all of this is good. But when I look at the self-satisfaction I got out of just stretching myself and learning about myself and understanding who Joyce really is, and that there's nothing that I can't accomplish, then that was just so important for me. So yeah, the pageant itself was absolutely wonderful, and I absolutely love it. I met so many great women. It has given me so many opportunities that I wouldn't have. I've been on the cover of a magazine. Who thought I would do that? So it's just been so many things I've been able to do. So whether it's a pageant or whatever it is, you're never too old. And just go ahead and pursue whatever it is, you know, you have a passion for.
I just loved the way you did the journaling, though, and you looked back on your 60 years and you saw all that you had done. Mm-hmm. Really, I think that right there, if that's all we do and really see what God has accomplished in our lives, that's pretty amazing.
I'm actually doing something like that right now. I'm trying to organize, before I start this doctorate, trying to organize our Pearls of Promise and what do I do, and you know, and just my life. You know, what all am I doing, and what days do I need to do this? And I'm just trying to get very organized. And I thought, whoa, I do a lot. It's a lot to balance. Yeah. And so maybe that explains sometimes why I get a little bit disheveled and, you know, and have a little trouble. But I think it's good that we lay our lives out on paper. Let me ask you, I'm constantly thinking of things, and one of those was, how did your family do with all this pageant stuff? I know it probably, because you were so busy, were they accepting of what you were doing, and how did it all work with family?
So yeah, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing because I didn't know how they were going to react, to be perfectly honest. So I did all of this on my own, and it wasn't until I decided that I was going to do it, I had paid my entrance fee to get in it, that I finally sent them a text message with a save the date. And they were like, oh, wow. For what? And I was like, I'm going to be in a pageant on this date. And they were like, what? And they were shocked, but they were so supportive from day one. And I mean, I didn't know how they were going to be.
So
but
you had your husband and your children?
And my two daughters.
And
yeah, they're grown, of course. And but they have been completely supportive from day one. Yeah. And just so proud. And you know, and it's so important, let me just say one more thing. It's so important for us to do this because now we're setting an example for our kids too. You know, because my daughters now are, you know, they realize that, you know, they don't have to just stay in the shell, that they can stretch themselves and become more than what they think as well. So
I think that's an important point because we as parents are still influencing our children. I know that when I got accepted into the school for the doctorate, my oldest son and his wife sent me cookies. I mean, they just seemed to be so excited for me and so proud. So I think that as we continue, when we don't give up, as we get older and we continue to move forward and we continue to learn, I think that's we make an impact on our kids still to this day, even though they're not little.
Right.
Well, thank you so much,
Well,
Joyce,
thank you all for
joining
inviting
us
me
on
here.
Pop Talk. We were just so glad to talk to you. You're just delightful,
Well, thank you.
you've inspired us all. And so
Thank
I'm going
you
to go
so much.
work out right now. If you want to reach Joyce,
Absolutely.
you can email her at joycemtsa19@gmail.com. joycemtsa19@gmail.com.
We would love for you to reach out to us here at Pearls of Promise. Email us at info@pearlsofpromiseministries.com. Our website is pearlsofpromiseministries.com, where you will find our books and our blogs, and you'll find more information about upcoming events on our Facebook page. You can also find us on Twitter at Pop Talk Media.
And thanks to our network, the Faith Unveiled Television Network. We're also thankful for our production crew here at Grace Point Media. So for all of your production needs, make sure you go to gracepoint.media.
Thanks again to our guest, Joyce Brown. That is Pop Talk for today. We are just ordinary girls.
Who God has turned into pearls.
Have a great week. We'll see you in a couple.